Alrighty, we are rolling. Well, good morning, gang. It's another fine day. So today's gonna be a busy day for me. So I wanted to go ahead and just do a YouTube video early on and just get it done. So before we get started, I don't think I've ever shown YouTubers this. So this is my room at Greg Judy's, or part of it, and folks, I just want y'all to know I feel so blessed to get to be with Greg Judy and his team. And this room, every time I'm in it, there's a lot of things about it, but my favorite thing in the room is this picture here. Greg's wife Jan, she painted that herself, and when I first came to Greg and Jan's for an interview last fall, I think it was one of the evenings they had me over for dinner, and Jan had the picture on the wall, and I saw it, and I love the picture. I think the colors are great. She did a beautiful job painting it, and I complimented her on it. I said, man, that's a nice painting. Well, I got accepted, got to come here to the farm, and when I came into my room, probably the first thing I noticed was she had put the painting on the wall for me. And Greg and I'm taking a few moments just to say, folks, I'm really blessed that I get to work with people that appreciate me, that take good care of me, that take really good care of their land and take care of their animals. And that's the kind of people that you want on your team, that you want to spend your life with. It's people that are passionate about being givers, about giving. There's only really two kinds of people in the world. There's givers and there's takers. And if you're wondering what the difference is, well, a giver, he gives more than he takes. And a taker, he takes more than he gives. Don't spend your life with takers, because life is too short for that. And yeah, at the end of the day, you'll wear yourself out. Always be with givers. So today, we're going to be talking more about my farm story. So I left off, I had just read the book Pastured Poultry Profits, and realized for the first time that raising animals was exciting. It was something I would enjoy doing, because I now understood that you could manage them in a way to improve the land over time and actually make money, and you didn't have to shoot them up with drugs. And that was a liberating experience, or a liberating feeling, and just to read and begin to realize from other people's experience. It was a huge breakthrough for me when the light bulb went on. So I was 15 or 16 at the time. I still had 2 or 3 years of high school to finish. And I was a studious student. By that time, I was probably a year ahead in school. And so I was homeschooled. So I still had to finish some work and things. But I spent a lot of afternoons growing vegetables, doing handyman little service items for the family. And I think during those teen years, it was really important that I didn't just do book learning, but I began to work with my hands and think and evaluate situations, and just start to develop a work ethic that I'm continuing to build on today. And yeah, so towards about 15 or 16, I had to make a career choice at some point, and it really came down to 3 things. I was either going to pursue piano or music, because I was really good at piano. I wasn't I wouldn't say I was the most musically talented individual, but really what it boiled down to was I worked really hard at it and enjoyed it enough. I was just really diligent at it. I would spend several hours a day and loved music, and still do. And as a side note, I got comments turned on YouTube. Someone told me that they couldn't comment on my videos, And it wasn't because I didn't want people to comment, it's because I didn't know how. So I got comments up. So here's my first question. I want to get input from YouTubers. Would y'all like me to share a video on the YouTube channel of me playing the piano? The primary purpose of this channel is farming and farming related stuff, but I think farmers should be eclectic. I mean, notice this stack of books here, 5 or 6. I think you should be reading in all sorts of different book titles. You should enjoy various interests. Piano's an interest of mine. I don't do it as much as I used to, but it's, anyway, I might share some videos of me playing music back in the day if y'all think I should. Anyway, would like input on that. So engineering was another thing I was considering. I was considering piano. I was considering becoming a chemical engineer like my dad because I was really good at math and analytics. It was just a strong point, logic and such. And then I was considering farming, and it was an easy choice at the end of the day because as a musician, you spend a lot of time sitting in a chair indoors and it's not a desk job, but it's 8 to 12 hours a day practicing to be the best. And I decided that I didn't want to spend my life traveling around a concrete jungle. That was not me. And engineering, as much as I enjoyed math and the sciences behind it, I didn't want to spend my life at a cubicle, and I couldn't see myself enjoying that lifestyle. I felt that I would age and be in worse health. I wanted to be out working, using my hands, doing things. So I went ahead and chose farming. And prior to finishing high school, I had enough time during the summers. I would work for my neighbor. We did custom hay baling. And so I started out just as a grunt help, picking up hay bales in the hay fields, loading them on trailers, stacking them. And by the time, I probably started when I was 12. By the time I was 17, 18, I was running the tractors, square balers, cutters, rakes, and fluffers. And so all through my teen years, that was a really important experience to build work ethic. And I think during that time, I began to discover just how much fun it was to be out there in the pasture. I didn't know that one day I would be able to consider grazing full time, literally hundreds of acres like I am today. I think when I finished high school, I felt that I had grown up on 4 acres. I'd grown up in Gonzales. I felt that was where I was at, and this was the land base that I had, and I just didn't think that there was a possibility that I would ever be able to have hundreds of acres of land available to me. Well, in finishing high school, my mom really felt that since I was going to be doing a lot of hands-on fix-it type things, and since I didn't know that much about mechanics or really fixing machinery in any event, she really strongly urged me to go ahead and work with a local tractor and forklift friend of ours at his mechanic shop in town, even if it was just for 5 months, to get some just hands-on skills, nuts and bolts skills of how to tighten, loosen things, how to change the oil in machines, how to troubleshoot machines. There was an innumerable number of things that I really needed to learn. And Mom encouraged me in that direction, and I went ahead and started at the mechanic shop in 5 months before I finished high school, and ended up spending a few years there because I had such a good work ethic. They wanted to keep me on, and so I ended up learning so many different things. I think the biggest thing I took from that job was becoming good at the problem-solving mindset and the diligence that is required to see things through to solve a problem. And I still use that today, that self-awareness, that conscientious analytics attitude that I developed there as a few years to help me in solving all sorts of problems in farming and life in general. So also, right out of high school, I went ahead and applied to Polyface Farms for the first time, and there was over 250 applicants, and I didn't make it, and so I just chucked that off as something that was just impossible. There's just too many people applying in my mind. It was just, there was never a chance I could work or I figured make it at a farm of that fame. And so I just wrote that off as something that couldn't be done. And shortly thereafter, I came across a farm in North Louisiana that was doing some polyface style models, and ended up touching base with the farmer there and interning there for 6 months, from January 2015 to July. And really was my first time, well, maybe not my first full time away from home, but the first really extended full time away from home for 6 months. And went ahead and learned about broilers, went there thinking I still, even though I was excited about animal farming, I still was interested in doing vegetable farming, because I just figured my context was a few acres and I'd done it so much through high school. I just figured that was what I was going to do. And after the internship, I came back and I was just gung-ho. I had just spent 6 months away, came back with a lot of energy and said, I've got to go do something. I have to build something, I have to do something. And I've been moving pastured broilers up there for the spring and summer. And so the first thing I wanted to do was build a few chicken pens, because I built some while I was up there, and I wanted to just go ahead and start farming. And so within a week of being home, I'd framed up 4 broiler shelters, and I was in the chicken business. Within a few weeks, I had chicks ordered and in the mail, and I raised a batch of 300. And it was it was a learning curve in and of itself. I still didn't have the production or processing or marketing experience to do what I was doing, but I was hard-headed enough. I was just going to go do something, even if it was wrong. And so the thing was, I was so gung-ho, and I think I went ahead and started doing vegetables too. I disked up, man, I must have disked up 3/4 or more of an acre and started planting vegetables too. And then I went back to my mechanic job as well. So I had started my mechanic job I went back to my mechanic job, and at the time I would have been, I guess, explain things. I worked at the mechanic shop for a few years, but I ended up leaving it temporarily for the internship. So I came back to it, and my boss just welcomed me with open arms. He was just happy to have somebody back that would work. It really, I guess looking back in hindsight, whenever I'm worried about how things will happen in life, I'm reminded that if you have industry, if you have passion and you have diligence to do what needs to be done, you're always going to be able to find work. Right now, there's so many job opportunities for young farmers, but in general, I really believe it's just a matter of being a person of industry and ethic, and opportunity will always be there for you. So I think the biggest lesson here, because I'm not gonna continue. I'll share more of my story in a later video. By now I was 20 years old, end of 2015, and I had my own business started. I'd raised my first batch of broilers. I had production infrastructure. I had processing equipment. I was set up for the next big step, and I'll talk about that in another video. But I want to observe a few takeaways that hopefully will be helpful to y'all as you're building your farm enterprises or considering what you have to do. And the first thing I want to observe is that when you're starting out, don't take on too much. Most individuals come to this with a lot of passion, and they try to do too many things to their detriment. It's way better to do 1 or 2 things really well than to do 4 or 5 things poorly. You can't do it all, and you do need to be a diverse enterprise and have multiple venues. But starting out, start with one enterprise, develop that well, and get good at it. Don't take on too much. Joel's dad, Bill Salatin, would call that overrunning your headlights. It doesn't do you any good, because you end up doing damage control later, and you're stressed out in the process. The reality of it would be that a year or two later after starting vegetables, I would conclude that it wasn't what I wanted to do, and I would have to flatten out the field that I had plowed up and try to get it to grow grass again. And it to this day, it still doesn't have a firm sod of grass, and I lost soil, and I wasted a lot of mental energy and time trying to build a vegetable enterprise. And it would have been better if I had just slowly, just start small, I don't want to say start slow, but you really need to pace yourself and don't overcommit yourself. And you'll learn better and you'll enjoy it in the process. And another key takeaway is to start now. Oftentimes I feel like I regret that I started doing so much so soon, and I didn't go ahead and chase after more internships and learning opportunities. I needed to learn more. You need to put learning first, gang. Don't jump into your business when you don't know what you're doing. There's no shame in ignorance, but be willing to learn first. Don't get impatient. You don't need to reinvent the wheel and make all the mistakes that other experienced farmers have already made. Go ahead and learn from them. If you have to work for free, do it. There was a farmer I worked for. He was willing to pay me, and I said, no, I'm here just to learn from you, and I know that if you pay me, you won't feel the obligation to teach me as much. I'm here because you have so much knowledge and experience to share, more than what a college education is worth. I mean, I was serious. He had lots of skills, and I said, I want to learn from you, and I don't need to be paid. The knowledge and the experience I'm going to get from you, that's something you can't Google. That's what I need from you. Well, anyway, yeah, so I went ahead and just got started. And so I guess I'm saying I wish I'd been more patient to learn more first. But I'm also going to say that sometimes in life you just have to get started. You just have to do something, even if it's wrong. And there's something in physics, I'm going to get a little technical here, called static friction. And static friction is basically the amount of friction you have to overcome to get a ball or an object moving. The deal is, static friction is always going to be less than kinetic friction, which is the amount of force that's required to keep an object moving. So static friction is always more. What am I saying? It's always harder to get started than it is to keep it going. So your hardest part in your business is usually going to be just getting off the ground. And there's so many people I meet today that are young, sometimes a little younger than me, a little older, and they haven't even started growing or raising anything for themselves personally. So don't wait. It's better, the way Alan Nation, the founder of the Stock and Grass Farmer, put it, is you're taking a risk in whatever you do, but the greatest risk is in doing nothing. You're setting yourself up for failure if you don't start doing something now. It's all our biggest risk. The biggest entrepreneurial risk is not what he goes for, it's what he doesn't go for. Way Joel's dad would put it is Joel Salatin's father, William Salatin, would say the only thing worse than starting late is starting never. And I think the last thing I would say is, one of the questions I wanted to answer as for the Thinker Farmer YouTube channel is, why ask why? So this is a case in point in my life where I didn't ask the why question. I got hung up on the technical aspects of, how do I build pens? How do I raise chickens? How do I start making money? Instead of stepping back, taking sometimes it takes just a few minutes, but in my case, it would have taken a few weeks to say, why am I doing this? What's my end in mind goal? And I think you'll see as I share more of my story that I ended up learning a lot and growing a lot. I was chasing the wind just a little, because I didn't know yet exactly what I was after. I hadn't really answered the full why question. The deal is, if you answer the why question first and take the time to do that, the how-tos will often fall into place and take care of themselves. All right, gang, I hope that wasn't too much. Blessings for the journey, and yeah, tune in next time.